Welcome once again. African Motion is bringing the topic of malaria. Malaria is the topic for today. We have part 1 and part 2 so that we can have a better understanding. As always, we have to address the 5 questions. But for the first part, we are going to address question 1, 2, and 3. So, if you check very well the definition of malaria, you find that it is a threatening disease which is transmitted to human through the bites of infected female Anopheles mosquito. The male does not transmit the malaria. We have some facts around this malaria. So, about 3.3 billion people, almost half of the world population, is at risk of contracting malaria. It's well documented because if you see the map, of the world, you can see that the high concentration is in Africa, the West Africa, East Africa, and Middle Central Africa, and it is not very much in South Africa. You can see also in the Asia, south part of Asia, and few cases as well in the North-South America. Malaria is a killer. It's a killer disease. That's why it is among our top 10 priorities. Is among the top 10 killers. When you check in 2018, the 228 million of cases were reported. In the same year, it has killed 405,000 in 1 year. You can see that the funding of 2.7 billion was made available in 2018, showing how much this condition is very serious and is a threat to many African and Asian countries. We can see again that approximately 70% of the world's malaria cases are concentrated in just 11 countries, and most of them are in Africa. So the new approach aims to accelerate progress in countries with a high burden. That's a resolution taken by World Health Organization. There is an approach that is being promoted now. More pregnant women and children, particularly those who are less than 5 years, need to be protected from malaria, because when it comes, it causes more damage as they don't have much immunity. Accelerated effort and funding are needed to reinvigorate the global response to the disease. Delayed malaria treatment may result in a patient's rapid deterioration, which means when you take longer, it becomes worse. The malaria will destroy a lot of blood cells and cause damages. In the development of life-threatening complications will not take long, will just appear in a very short time. Recognizing and promptly treating patients with severe malaria is very essential. One would ask a question: why is it taking too long to eradicate malaria? It has been there for many years now. The World Health Organization recognizes that to fight the parasite is very complex, because the malaria roots itself in the heartland of Africa and affects some of the hard to reach and the more impoverished populations. The mosquitoes will be hiding in the bush very far where it is difficult to access. As you can see, their families who might have this equipment around your homes, might be the tires, the buckets, pots, anything that will be collecting water, causing stagnation. A stagnated water give a chance to mosquitoes to come. Why do I say this? It's because the mosquito will come to the water and lay eggs. The eggs will grow into larvae, pupa, then it becomes a mosquito. You can see how they are hanging when they are growing. In a few days, as they are multiplying in numbers, they become millions of mosquitoes ready to go to prick people and start transmitting the disease. We have to remember that people who stay in regions without mosquitoes, the free malaria areas, when they come to endemic regions, they can contract that malaria, and it can be very severe because they don't have what? Immunity. So they need to be prepared when they come. Mothers who are pregnant and little children, they don't have high immunity. I mean soldiers of the body, which will be protecting them. That's why when the disease comes, it will cause more severe cases to them, and it will cause more damages. Adult people can also be affected by malaria, but if they have lived in the same area for a long time, and they are likely to build up some immunity, they are somehow going to build soldiers against these parasites. So, but this does not mean that they cannot be infected, but they may not have severe symptoms like people who have never been exposed. World Health Organization has approach says high burden, high impact. They know that there are some areas which are high burdened, which are the 11 countries. Among those 11 countries, 10 are in Africa. So global technical strategy for malaria control is having 4 goals for eliminating this malaria. One is reducing malaria incidence by what? 90%. That's one of the objectives they have. Number 2, reducing malaria mortality rate. The mortality rate reduced by 90%. Eliminating malaria in at least 35 countries, preventing a resurgence in malaria in all countries of which are free of malaria. So countries which don't have malaria yet, they would like to prevent so that they don't experience a new occurrence of malaria. What causes malaria? Let's go deep a little bit and understand the cause of malaria. Malaria is caused by what? A mosquito called Anopheles. So it will come with a parasite called Plasmodium falciparum. This Plasmodium falciparum is the main killer. We know there are 4 groups. There is Plasmodium falciparum, vivax, malaria, and ovari. But the most common one is falciparum, and it's very severe form which cause more damage. So it will come, and this parasite will just go to the red blood cells. It does target blood cells, and it will destroy them. And once it destroys them, eventually it will cause anemia. So the mosquito will come and bite a person. Suppose this person is having malaria in his body. As the mosquito bites, it will suck the blood. Then the parasite will grow, multiply in the system, in the stomach of the mosquito, as it goes to the bush. Later, when it comes back again to feed on another person, because it needs to dilute first the blood that's going to suck. So it has to inject the saliva in the next person. After injecting the saliva will be coming with what? With those parasites. So then they start multiplying in the second person. And now they will go start destroying what? The blood cells. As you can see, the blood are destroyed. Then the cycle continues like that. Mosquito comes again, prick, and goes to another person like that. You can see once they have entered the system, it will go to the liver, arriving in the liver, and the multiplication goes on and destroying red blood cells, and it continues. As the mosquito comes again, will take the gametocytes, and the cycle continues like that. So how do you know that one has malaria? Let's see the signs and symptoms in very short. Malaria can present with a non-specific prodrome lasting up to several days. You have signs which are confusing a little bit, but symptoms including malaise, anorexia, that's having like a loss of appetite. You have a headache, myalgia, that is pain of the muscles, and low-grade fever. Malaria can also start more suddenly with acute onset of illness. It comes just suddenly, and you ask what's going on. But it has some stages when you observe how it has been behaving. There is a cold stage where it will have chills and shaking. Hot stage, the fever, headache, the patient might vomit, and children will most of times have seizures. They will fit, and the patient might sweat. Sweat because of what? The hot, the temperature is high, the fever, then the patient will sweat. Then they feel well sometimes for some periods, then the cycle on and off, feeling good and feeling bad as well. It will be on and off. When you check now the organs that will be mainly affected, showing by symptoms, the headache will be always there with malaria. The patient will have fever, the fatigue, pain of muscles, back pain, and chills, sweating. Patient might have a dry cough. The spleen will enlarge. Why? Because the massive destruction of red blood cells will cause the spleen to enlarge, because the damaged cells will come to get stored in the spleen. The stomach, nausea and vomiting. Why? Because chemicals from the liver will come to the stomach. Let's look at it, how it goes. As the blood comes in the liver, we know that liver has responsibility to do detoxification, one of the function of the liver. So as it is removing the dead tissues, dead toxins and red blood cells, what we experience? A lot of bilirubin will come to the gallbladder. So as it is being drained, as the blood cells are getting destroyed, they will come inside the intestine. Some will continue in the intestine, going until they reach outside in the stool, and they will be yellow because the bilirubin is yellow. That's what we call stercobilinogen. They will be yellow in the stool. But if it is too much now, it will come to the stomach. In the stomach, and the stomach will feel that something is wrong, and will react to trying to reject that yellow content, the bilirubin, and by vomiting, you will see that the patient has what? Yellow vomiters. And when you check the eye of the patient, or when you check the skin, if the patient is having a light skin, you see yellow, and the eyes will become yellow. That's what we call jaundice. Why? The blood is being destroyed in a large quantity. When you observe urine of the patient, normally somebody who drinks water regularly, the urine will be clear. If you are dehydrated, you did not drink enough water, urine might be yellow. But in the context of malaria, because of massive destruction of red blood cells, the urine will be dark or red. Why? Because the blood is being destroyed massively. This is what we call hemoglobinuric urine. You can even see the urine catheter was put in a patient, and now the urine is what? Dark urine. So when you examine the blood from the patient using a microscope, you will be able to detect those parasites. That a microscope can do it, or can do what we call rapid diagnostic test. So this is how they do. They will just prick, take some drops, put on a slide, then put on a microscope and examine. They will see the parasite that causes malaria. Thank you so much for being with us in the part 1. Part 2 is still coming. I'm inviting you to check other presentation on our website, or for comments and questions, you are always welcome to send an email. We'll be able to address them as much as possible. Thank you very much.